So I'm supposed to talk about legal groundwork, which I wonder why I went to school if I could cover this in 5 minutes. It's going to be a roller coaster ride, so hold on tight. Too much content probably in these slides. The first thing to understand, though, is that it's a buyer's market. If you're out there looking for financing, I want to focus on that first. It means that everything is for sale. Investors have a lot of companies they're looking at, they can choose from, which means that you can't go into looking at for financing with too much hubris. You have to be understanding that market. And sometimes greed is good, other times greed is not good. Right now, greed is not good as a company looking for financing. So what do? Well, you try to get as many interested parties as you can, of course. You know, in the context of lending, when banks compete, you win. The same is true for investing. When you have more investors on the hook, the more opportunity you have to get a good valuation and good terms. Those are the two things I want to talk about next. So how do you get to valuation? There is absolutely no good answer for that question. It's much more of an art than it is a science. And at the end of the day, it comes down to your gut versus the investor's gut and what you can settle on. Always surprised at the deals that happen versus don't happen and different valuations between them. Outside of that, terms, what should you look for? Look for the plain vanilla. Try to keep it simple and uncomplicated. It'll help you now and help you if you have to go out and raise more money. There are some kind of core terms you can expect to find as you look for money, and you can do a lot of the research and assistance or work on those terms outside of using a lawyer. You can do it yourself. Now, it's a little tricky to do it yourself or learn too much, outside of using a lawyer, but there's a lot of great resources that are out there, including, of course, on the web. And the web is your frenemy. Your friend, of course, and your enemy. Here we have Paris and Nicole, two frenemies. But there's a lot of great sites. There's a lot of email out there. A lot of wonderful blogs. There's a lot of sources such as Edgar, which is a database that public companies have to provide their material agreements on. You can find some sample deal forms from sources like this and get a sense of terms from these other sources. So do look for those sorts of things, and it's a way of saving some money with lawyers. So what will an investor ask you about, or what will an investor care about? The first question is, what kind of a company are you? Are you Delaware versus Utah? Are you a corporation or an LLC? A venture investor will want a Delaware corporation. Angels may want LLCs. So know your target audience. They'll also want to know about your capitalization. In other words, who owns your company? Or who's supposed to own your company? They'll want to see some founders. They'll want to see what percentage of the company they're going to get. Maybe some key employees that don't have equity yet have an option pool. With respect to founders, they may want to see some golden handcuffs, making sure those people are locked in tightly. So if they leave, the company can repurchase their equity. Otherwise, they're maybe a big shareholder without a lot of skin in the game anymore. I'll also be concerned about seeing all this stuff documented. Now, I'm not proposing the use of that certain 7-leaf plant, but they'll want to see it legalized. They'll want to see documentation for this. There's too many loose promises about capitalization that we see in companies. They'll want to see compliance with securities laws. You will not hopefully be Bernie Madoff, but you should be aware of who you're issuing securities to and what securities restrictions there are as you do that. Otherwise, the investor's own money may be subject to a rescission right. This is a Bratz doll, and this is a Barbie doll over on the left. This is going to be a focus of the next couple slides. You should always have, an investor is going to want to care about having IP locked up in your company. And if you have employees, you should always have an agreement that deals with these things for them. You'll also want to have that same sort of agreement for consultants. And we see a lot of companies that don't have those for consultants. Why does it matter? It matters because the stuff that a consultant does for you, if you don't have a work-for-hire agreement, is owned by the consultant. You think you own it, you paid for it, but the consultant owns it. So very dangerous. The Barbie and Bratz slide relates because there's big litigation right now involving Barbie and Bratz over just these issues. So it's not a small deal. So as you think about all these issues, a lot to digest. Use the right tool. What I mean by that is use the right attorney for your problem. Some of us know business law, others of us know family law, or other sorts of law. Attorneys are really expensive, in case you haven't noticed, so use them carefully, make sure your facts are aligned, you know what you're doing, and do it up front so that you don't get into a problem and look for us to bail you out, because that can be expensive for you and painful for us, and we don't like that as much. So it's been a pleasure being with you. Here's my contact information. We run the gamut from formation, financing, governance, strategic transactions, and sales, and great being with you.